Hi friends, welcome back to Sew Honeybee. In today's video, I will be doing a tutorial for the Be Hip bag by Sewfisticated Craft Designs. Now, I was really happy to be asked to make this tutorial, and I really liked making the bag too. Now, I'd like to share some of the details with you. This one here is a size medium, and it is the one that we will be making in today's tutorial. It has a front zipper pocket and a zipper pocket inside, as well as a slip pocket. And there's a back zipper pocket as well, which makes it really nice because you can put some of your more valuable things in this back zipper pocket. Now, there are 3 different versions to this pattern, as well as 3 different sizes. And I will be showing you the details to make all 3. This one here has a zipper across the front panel. The second version is a fussy cut where there is no zipper and it's just one panel across the front. The third version is one full panel across the front. So now you have 3 different choices for this bag. Now I'm going to be leaving timestamps in the description below. You can go ahead and pick which version you want to make. Follow that timestamp and it'll take you right there. Or you can just go ahead and watch the whole video. Now this one here is a size medium, and it's a perfect size for adults. Now let me go ahead and share some of the other sizes with you. This one here is a large, and it has all the same details with the top zipper flap and the roomy inside and the slip pocket and the zipper pocket. The pocket in the back. Now you can never have too many pockets. So with this one, I did the version with the zipper pocket in the front. So now this one is the large. Now this one here is a size small and is a perfect size for most children. Now this one is a different version because you can see that it has one panel all the way across. But all the other details are the same. So you can see the zipper pocket and the slip pocket inside, as well as the zipper pocket in the back. Now this bag I made out of canvas and cotton, and it was sewn on my domestic sewing machine. So whether you have an industrial machine or a domestic machine, this pattern can be easily sewn on both. So now those are all the details. Let's get started. So first of all, we need our lining piece, A2, AD, and our zipper. Now make sure that your zipper is a little bit longer than your pieces. And you're also going to need a zipper pull. And now we're just going to go ahead and attach our zipper pull to our zipper. Okay, so now I'm going to set aside the lining for right now. And I want to take AD and my zipper right side up and my zipper right side down, but I want it to be going this way. And I'm going to go ahead and clip across the top. Now I'm going to baste across the top at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now get your lining piece, A2, and place it right sides together and sew across using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, now I want to finger press this here on both ends, and then I'm going to top stitch across the top at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now we want to get our AC front zipper top panel, and we want to put them right side together onto the zipper and sew it at 1/4 of an inch. Now, see how mine is directional, my pattern? I want to make sure that it is going the right way. Now I'm going to finger press this because I'm going to get ready to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch seam. Okay, so now I have my pocket lining, and I'm going to attach this to this, matching my top edges. Let me show you here so that you can see that this seam here is going up. It's not going down. I'm pushing it up, and now I'm going to top stitch across here at 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to cut my lining so that it is the same size as my front panel. You'll notice that I cut my lining a little bit bigger just in case. But now I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to baste all the way around all the edges at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Making sure that my zipper pull is out of the way. If you are making the second style, which is the fussy cut, you will have this piece here as the fussy cut. So go ahead and grab that piece and you will start from here. Now get pieces AB, which is our side pieces, and we are going to put them right side together, sew them at 1/4 of an inch down the side, fold them back, and then top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to put that one aside. I'm going to start with this one. Now you can see here that the bottom is longer on my front panel. That's okay. I want to make sure my ends meet at the top and not worry right now about the bottom because I can cut that off. So if you have the fussy cut, it should be right on, both of them should be right at the same size, okay? So again, I'm going to go ahead and sew that at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And I want to make sure that I'm aware of where my zipper pull is so that I don't wind up running over it with my needle. So I'm going to pull this back, finger press it, and then I'm going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam. And now I'm going to do the same thing to this side. Now, if you are using cotton or canvas and you want to go ahead and put a piece of interfacing, right now is the time you do it. But since I am using vinyl and waterproof canvas or Oxford canvas, I will not be using interfacing. Now, do not skip this part because it's very important to make sure that your panel is the right size. With the zipper and the seam allowances and ironing on of the interfacing, the panel may be a different size. So I'm getting piece A, the front panel, and cutting it down if needed. So now here you can see that it is in fact a different size. So you'll want to make sure not to skip this part because it's really important that all of your pieces are the right size. Okay, now our piece is the right size, so we can go ahead and take off our clips and put that piece away. Now, this is where we come to our third style, where the full front panel is one piece. So now you've seen all three styles. The first style with the zipper pocket, the second style with the fussy cut, and this is the third style with one full panel. Okay, now I'm going to get my A1, which is my front panel lining, the zipper, and my zipper pull. Okay, I'm going to burn the ends of my zipper really quick. And put on my zipper pull. Now from here on out, the steps will be the same for all of the styles. Now I'm going to set aside my zipper and my pull and my main panel for a second here, and I am going to make seam allowance markings on my panel lining. The markings that I want to make on my panel lining is from this edge here. And so I want to mark 3/8 of an inch off of the side here and mark that. And do the same thing on the other side. Again, at 3/8 of an inch. Now what I want to do is mark 1/4 inch seam allowance across the top for my zipper. What it's going to do is it's making it a lot easier for me to put on my zipper. So now it's all marked and ready to go. Now there are other ways you can add this zipper, but this method leaves a clean edge on both sides, and it's a lot easier than expected. Okay, now I have my lining right side up. I have my zipper also right side up. Now my zipper is going from the right to the left, okay? And I want to go ahead and clip my zipper against this edge here, all the way down. Now I'm going to baste it at 1/8 of an inch, being careful to start and stop at my 3/8 inch mark. So now you can see on the both ends that I started and stopped right at my marking points. Now I want to get my piece A. So now I want to find my center markings and mark my center. And then my center is already marked here. So I'm going to put those two centers together and clip them. Now I'm going to sew it with this side up because I have my markings on this side. So what I am going to do is I am going to drop my needle right in this corner, and then I am going to go forward a few stitches, go back a few stitches, and then sew all the way down at 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to raise my presser foot all the way up so that I can see right where my needle is dropping, and then drop my needle right at that point. Go forward a couple of stitches, go back a couple of stitches, and then proceed. Again, making sure when I come up to my zipper pull, I move it out of the way. Now, if you're using the front panel pocket, you'll want to make sure that you know where your zipper pull on this one is also, because if you're using a large zipper pull, that could get caught in your zippers in your seam line also. Okay, now I want to show you here how you can see I went forward and back, but I stopped right at that point. Okay, now I am going to clip this box here, making sure that I don't clip any of my threads at 1/4 inch. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so you can see here I've clipped and I've clipped it here. Okay, now I want to turn this right side out, so I'm going to go ahead and start by finger pressing the canvas down and doing the same thing with the vinyl. And now again, if you're using fabric, you can go ahead and press this with the iron. Or if you're using vinyl like I am, go ahead and just finger press it. Okay, now I'm going to clip it on this side. So that it'll stay in place for me. Okay. Okay, let me start with the green first so that you can see it better. So now pull this forward and up, okay? And let me clip away this zipper here, my zipper tab. Okay. And now I'm going to fold it back on itself, right at that line. Okay, so that it looks like this. Okay, and I'm going to move my seam forward. And then I'm going to clip it. Okay. Now I'm going to flip it around and do the same exact thing to the other side. Folding it down right at that seam, and you can see automatically this seam comes to the front. So now I am going to pin both of those together. Okay, I'm going to actually put a pin down here also. Now you can see where we marked our 3/8 of an inch seam there, our marking to where we stopped. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew across that top right there, back stitching here and back stitching at the top. You can see here now that I've sewn right at that line. Same thing on the other side. Now, when I push these over, you see how it gives a clean edge right there? And also a clean edge to the front. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Again, finger press it, fold our lining back so that it looks like this, okay, and then fold it back, okay, right on there. Okay, and there again is our seam where we're going to be sewing. So go ahead and clip that, turn it over, let me clip this better, and do the same thing to the other side. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to sew going this way because we're going to sew right along that line. Let me clip that better. We're going to sew right along this line right here. So now let me show you here under the light the way that came out. When you do that 3/8 of a mark and sew right on that line, it comes out so nice and it's so easy and it leaves a clean edge on both sides. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around this zipper box at 1/8 of an inch to top stitch it. I am not going to back stitch it up at the top because I'm going to tie those off so that I can have a cleaner edge in our final product. And I turned my wheel to get right to the edge to where I wanted to have it. Now here, if you are doing the zipper pocket, you will notice, or even maybe the fussy cut, you will notice that it'll be easier for you to use a hump jumper. Now, I've got you a little closer here because I wanted to share with you. This is a hump jumper, and she suggests that you use one of these in the pattern, and that is for this level here where your presser foot is going over two different levels. What you're going to do is you are going to take the thicker side, rest it under your presser foot to make it level. And so now when you go over, it won't chew up your vinyl, nor will it ruin your project. So you're just going to go ahead and go there. And when you rest this on there, in between here is where your needle is going to go. So you'll do just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and use that and then move forward at the 1/8 of an inch, continuing. Okay, now I have gone over that portion, and so now I'm just going to go and continue. Now I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way. Okay, now again, here is our next portion to where our level is not the same. Okay, so I'm going to put the hump jumper there again and then continue to go over it. And again, do not back stitch. Leave your tails long, and then go ahead and tie those up. Now, she doesn't say to do this on the pattern, but it was something that I just like to do myself because it leaves a cleaner edge. Okay, so you'll just want to tie those and then go ahead and clip it. And then do the same thing to the other side. Okay, this is where I'm going to deviate a little bit from the pattern. Now, she wants you to go ahead and baste all the way around here at 1/8 of an inch, basting these two pieces together. Now, I'm going to leave them separately because our next step is to sew our base and our top lining and vinyl or exterior to this piece. Now, the way the pattern has us do it, and you can do the same thing too, is this is one piece, and you're going to baste and then sew lining together and top together as one piece. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the exterior base to the exterior front and the lining base to the lining. So let's go ahead and do that first. Now, be careful that you grab the right pieces for the right pieces because the top and the base are two different sizes. So you want to make sure that you're using the base pieces for the base and the top for the top. So here I have my two base pieces. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my centers and clip them. And do the same thing to my lining. The same thing at my bottom. Now I want to line these two seams up with each other to find my center. And the same thing with the lining. Line my two edges together to find my center. Okay, now I want to get my lining and then clip in there all the way around, making sure that you do not go past that 1/4 of an inch mark. Now, if you're using fabric, remember that right here is your bias, so that's going to be easier to stretch, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and clip it all the way down, making sure that I'm staying within the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to take my lining piece and my lining base and make sure that my front panel is out of the way and clip it. And clip all the way going around. go going the other way. Okay, it's all clipped now. Now I want to move my main panel out of the way and now sew the base lining to the base at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now let's turn it right side out so that we can make sure that there is no tucks, no wrinkles or anything like that. Okay? Okay, so everything looks good. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to my front. So now I'm going to make sure that I've got my base and I'm going to pin them right sides together and do the same thing all over again. Now in the pattern she also suggests that you can use some hemostat or needle nose pliers. I purchased these specifically for this pattern, so I'm going to go ahead and use the hemostat to put on this here. And it is actually really effective to use it. So if you're not used to sewing curves, a hemostat may be able to help you quite a bit. Okay, so now let me turn this right side out and finger press that seam. Okay, and take a look at it and make sure that I'm happy with the whole thing and that there's no tucks or anything like that in there, which there isn't. Okay, now I trimmed the base at both sides. So now you can see now that both pieces come together really nicely. So let me clip them, matching the centers. Matching the seams on both sides. Okay. Okay. Okay, and now we can see how nicely that fits inside of there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to based at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And then again, if you have to use your hemostat to line these pieces up, you can do that too. Okay, so now you can see it's all one piece. It's been basted all the way around at 1/8 of an inch. The base and everything has gone on very nicely. So now we are going to go ahead and do the top. Now I want to find my center. So I'm going to put these two seams together and go to the center where my zipper is. Now this is a burner, and this is what I am going to use to burn the center of my zipper. Okay, now what this does is it burns it so that there's no fraying or anything like that. Since I am cutting my zipper, you can see now that there is a little snip right there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I can see it. I made it so tiny. So now I'm going to take my top, and now I am going to find my center for the top. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to find the center for my bottom. And the same thing for my lining. Okay, so now my centers are all marked. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to snip within 1/4 of an inch all the way around the top, making sure that I'm right within 1/4 of an inch, that I do not go beyond that, because that's where our seam allowance is. It'll be easier to sew it on if the edges are clipped. Okay, and I want to do the same thing to my lining. Okay, so now I have all my edges cut. Now I'm going to put right sides together, matching my centers. My vinyl right side to my right side of my panel, right at that zipper. Now I am going to curve this towards me so that it will go right with that. And you'll notice that I've got 1/4 of an inch marking here at the bottom. I want to make sure that my 1/4 of an inch is right there at that zipper seam. Okay, so let me grab another one here. Okay, and then I'm going to continue all the way across. And you'll notice that it goes on really nicely. It fits right in there. So you may even have to bend this out and make it conform to however you need it to in order to pin all the way around. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the center and work my way this way, then back stitch, then start at the center again and work my way this way. The reason is because when you start at one end and go all the way around, you can become distorted over here if your pieces start moving. Okay, so by starting in the center and working my way to the edges, I can guarantee that my pieces will not become distorted at either end. Now, if you feel like you need to use your hemostat, go ahead and use that. And remember also that be aware where your zipper pull is too. Mine is right here. I'm going to go ahead and move mine out of the way. It is a lot easier to sew this curve when your zipper is open. Now I want to show you something here. I'll show you on this side so you can see it a little bit better. Right here, what I did was when I got to that portion there where my zipper is, because remember we lined that up right with the zipper. Okay, what I did was I went off on the top. You can see it on this side more on the green side, but I followed it 1/4 of an inch, and then once I got to that zipper, I went off of it. I didn't continue to go at 1/4 of an inch, okay? So that my seam comes to almost nothing. And that makes a big difference when we go ahead and sew on the back panel. You'll be able to see it better when we put on the lining. Okay, so now I'm going to go from this side, and I'm going to start in the center and work my way to this way, okay? But first I'm going to clip my threads, and I'm going to open up my zipper all the way. But now I'm going to work going this way at 1/4 of an inch, same thing, making sure that I start at that center and back stitch. And then if let me get my clips out of the way. If I need to use my hemostat, I use that so that to make sure that it is right on that 1/4 of an inch. So I'm coming close to my zipper, so I want to make sure that I know where my zipper pull is, because I do not want to run it over. So now I'm close to it. So now I'm going to go to the edge. Let me use my hemostat here to move it into place. Okay. Okay, so now let's close our zipper, and now I'm going to do the same thing. But now I'm going to turn this way so it will be easier for me to clip this on. Okay. Now you'll want to maneuver your piece, your panel, any way you can in order to get that to be able to clip onto there. And this curve isn't really difficult to sew. It's, yeah, it's not difficult at all. It just takes a little bit of time and paying attention to detail. So let me turn this out this way so that I can get this to clip to this side. Okay, this is on there correctly. Okay. And again, whoops. And again, if you have to use your hemostat, go ahead and use that. Okay. Now I'm really paying attention to where my zipper pulls are. Because I'm coming up to one of them. So now I've got to move it out of the way. Okay, so now I'm going to clip my threads, and I am now going to cut down this seam just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to turn this out. What I'm going to actually do is clip both of these together so I can make sure that they are right with each other as they were sewn. Okay? Now, I'm making sure that I know, look, you can see where the zipper pull is right here. I'm making sure that I know where that zipper pull is so that it doesn't go into my needle. Pull that out so I can show you what I'm talking about. As I was sewing right here on this side, I made sure that my zipper pull was over here as I was sewing here so that it was completely out of the way. Okay, so now let me clip my threads on both ends. Okay, and now you can see how nicely that top looks. Okay. Okay, now you can really see this whole thing coming together, and it's I'm really happy with the result. Okay, so now we're going to set this piece aside, and now we're going to be working on the exterior back panel. Okay, now I have my exterior back, which is C, my back panel, my zipper and pull, and my zipper is a little longer than the inside box of my back, and then C1, which is my pocket lining. I'm going to go ahead and set aside my back panel and one of my lining pieces. Now I'm going to take the lining C1 with the zipper and have both of them right side up. Okay, and now I want my zipper going this way from left to right. Now I'm going to go ahead and clip it to the top and then baste across the top at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now I'm going to take my back panel. I want to mark my 3/8 of an inch on each side and my 1/4 of an inch across the center. Okay, now I'm going to put this right side up. My lining piece with my zipper is right side down. And I'm going to, first of all, match my centers and clip, and then clip at both ends. Okay, now when I sew this, I am going to sew from this side, okay, so that I can see where my seam is or my markings are. I am going to drop my needle right at that box right there at that corner, and I'm going to sew all the way across and then stop right at that corner, and I'm going to back stitch at both points. And I'm feeling for where my zipper pull is, so once I get close to my zipper pull, I want to make sure that I move it out of the way. And I want to go all the way down till I get to that 3/8 of an inch mark, and then work my way back stitch. Now I want to clip from this edge, not from this edge, because there's no markings on this edge, making sure that I do not snip into the threads. So you can see how I did that, okay, right there, okay, and do the same thing on the other side, making sure I don't snip into any of the threads. So now I want to finger press this up. Now there's a difference here, so you see how the lining, we don't have anything up on the lining ended there, okay, but we do have an edge on the vinyl. So let me move this back. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the vinyl back on itself and see how it exposes where my seam line is supposed to be, right up on that zipper. So I'm going to put a clip right where that's supposed to be. You can even put a clip over here too. Okay, it's up to you. But now what we're going to do is we're going to sew right on this line here. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, I am going to fold this back on itself, and it exposes my seam allowance there. So I'm going to clip this, and now I'm going to sew right there. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch around this box here, this zipper box, at 1/8 of an inch. And again, I am not going to back stitch here. I'm going to go forward and then go all the way here, go off, and then I'm going to tie my ends. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and tie my ends. And then clip them. Do the same thing to the other side. Okay, now I'm going to get the other pocket lining. I'm going to put it face up. Then I'm going to take this and put it also face up. Now, I'm going to clip this together at the zipper. Okay. Now normally I would have found the center of this second piece, but what I've done is I've just lined it up with this one here. Now I'm going to sew across this at 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and remember you're going to leave the bottom open. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this so that they are both the same size, making sure that I am not clipping my panel. I'm just clipping right now. I'm clipping the lining, okay? So now my lining is all one size and clipped down. I'm going to go ahead and turn up my seam here and turn up on this side also. And now I'm going to sew all the way down here and straight off of here. Okay, I'm not going to sew across here, and I'm just going to leave this like this. Okay, so I'm going to sew from this side. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to sew down and then down, okay, at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to do this to this same side over here. Same thing. Okay, now in turning up this flap, what happens is that when I turn this out, It leaves a nice hem already there. And because this is Oxford canvas, I can just finger press that and it's folded up. So that after this bag is complete, then I will be able to sew this closed really easily. Now, I want to trim my sides. Do not skip this part, even especially if you are using a domestic machine, because you want to make sure that there's nothing in this seam here. Okay? Okay, now I'm going to close up this pocket by basting across the top at 1/8 of an inch on the zipper. Now our exterior back is complete and we can set this aside. Now our next step is to work on our interior assembly. Now I don't have a bag tag, but I do have an embroidery machine. I like to put a little message inside of the pocket showing that I was the one who made the bag. Now I'm going to put all my pieces aside for right now except D1, which is my pocket lining, and my zipper with the pull. Now I have cut my zipper right at the same width as my lining piece. Now I'm going to put my zipper pocket lining right side up, securing it with the Wonder Clips, or you could use double stick tape, but I'm just going to go and clip that. Then I'm going to baste it across using a 1/8 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to repeat for the other edge. Now don't sew the sides. We'll do that at a later step. Now I'm going to take piece D, which is my inner zipper panel, and now I'm going to go ahead and do my zipper box. Now there are other methods that you can use to put a zipper box in. You can use whichever one works best for you. You might want to give this method a try. It's really very easy and it might work better for you. So I'm going to go ahead and follow the steps the way she has it in the pattern. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut down the center of my zipper box and cut the triangles at each end. I'm going to finger press this back. If you're using cotton, you can press this with an iron. You can also use double stick tape or a heat and bond. Okay, I'm happy with the way this turned out, and I have finger pressed it all the way down, all the way around. Now I'm going to get my D1, which is my pocket lining with my zipper, and I have added double stick tape to the bottom. Okay, now I am going to lay this on here. Actually, I'm going to turn it around. It's a lot easier for me to see. And I am going to lay the bottom right on there. Lay that right on there and get that double stick tape. Really press it in there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to sew 1/8 of an inch all the way down. Okay, now here's where we've just sewn across at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I want to fold my lining up, and I want to really pull my pocket down so that that really is on there and really in place. Okay, and finger press that. And now when my pocket is open, now you can see the message inside. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch across here, across the top, and then down. Now I'm not going to back stitch. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull my threads to the back and then tie them off. Move my zipper out of the way. Okay, now you can see how nice and neat that looks across the top. And now when my zipper opens and someone looks inside that pocket, you can clearly see the little message inside of there. Now close off the pocket at the sides and then trim it. Now I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing to this side over here. And then trim it down. Now I'm going to get piece E, which is my slip pocket. You can see that, again, my pattern is directional, so I want to put them right sides together and upside down against this edge here. Now I'm going to sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to snip my corners. Okay, here I want to snip my corners, and this is to reduce bulk in that edge also. Okay, so now I want to finger press this really well, and I want to turn it right at that edge. I'm kind of okay. Now I'm going to stitch across this at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now the pattern gives you these measurements. Each measurement is different as to which size you're going to be making. Okay, so you'll go ahead and find the measurement, the correct measurement in the pattern. You can see here that my piece is a little bit larger. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. I cut it a little larger on purpose just in case. I needed to have a little bit of extra room there. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut that down and then pin it and do the same thing to the other side. Now this is where you can put a little tag if you want to. I got this from mormino.com. Okay, it says, "I know I can't believe I'm handmade either." And I thought that was really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that right to that edge right there. So now I'm going to baste this at 1/8 of an inch all the way down, making sure to catch all of my pieces. The center of our panel is complete. Now I want to get pieces D2, and they are mirrored, so you should have one for each size, and she has a pattern piece for each of these, so you don't have to worry about making the mistake of cutting 2 rights or 2 lefts pieces. I really liked that because I know I have made that mistake before. So this is really nice that it has its own pattern piece. And now I cut mine again a little larger, so that's why so much of it is going off down here. So now I'm going to sew it across using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And now, because I basted that at 1/8 of an inch, I don't have to worry about whether or not I caught that in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew this side also. At a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So now I am going to go ahead and I am going to snip those corners off so that I reduce that bulk. So now you can see our panel really coming together now. Now I want to fold this back on itself, and I'm going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to do the same thing to this side over here. Now I'm going to get my back panel and my inner zipper panel and make sure they are the same size. Now I want to use my heavy duty scissors for this. And now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to trim that down where it's needed. Now I've moved my back pocket piece out of the way, so I make sure that I am not clipping that. Okay, we're almost done. We have our main body panel, our interior back panel, and then our exterior back panel. Now, here's where I have to decide which style I'm going to want. I can use grommets with an adjustable strap, or I can do a sew-in strap with a buckle and a slider. But there is also a third style of using D-rings with an adjustable strap. Now, since I don't know the hip size of the person who is going to receive this bag, I'm making it adjustable. So I'm going to use the D-rings for my straps. So I need two 1-inch D-rings because that's the size of my webbing. I need two 1-inch lobster clasps and a slider, and then the webbing that I will use. Okay, so I just want to get a piece of my webbing, okay, and cut it in half. Now this is a 6-inch piece, yeah. Okay, get my D-rings. Add a clip. And do the same thing to the other one. And now I want to sew across as close as I can get to my hardware, to that D-ring. I want to do that same thing to both of them. Being very careful not to run over that D-ring with my needle. Now I want to burn my threads and then burn the ends. Okay, and now my D-rings are ready. Okay, now before I get my D-rings and attach them to here, I want to find out where my seam allowance is. Okay, so now what I did on this side is I marked my 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so that when I put this on there, I can make sure that this D-ring is not going to interfere when I'm trying to sew this on there. Now I want my D-ring to extend a little bit past my edge, and then I'm going to clip it. Okay, so you can see there that it's extended. And now I want to do the same thing to this side over here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to baste across here. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing to this side. Okay, now my D-rings are attached. And now because they can move around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blue tape. And this is painter's tape, so it is not going to leave any kind of residue or anything on my project. And I am just going to tape that D-ring down so it doesn't move. But I don't want to put my zipper pull in there because I'm going to maybe want to move my zipper out of the way. Okay, so now that is safe on there now, and I'm not going to have any issues with those D-rings. Okay, now I want to get my back panel and put both of these right sides together. So I'm going to turn this out on itself. Put this right side together. And I'm going to mark my center. Okay. I'm going to put these two pieces right side together and clip them all the way around. This is why those steps where we took the back pieces and cut them down to make sure they were the right size, and we took our front piece and cut it down to make sure it was the right size also, so that when you get to this point where you're putting them together, it goes perfectly because everything is the right size. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, you can see that I've moved my lining pocket out of the way because I want to make sure that this pocket doesn't get mixed up in anything. I'm going to use my hemostat to help me make sure that both of these pieces are lined up right with each other. Now it's really important to get this part right. So really, go slow and take your time at this point. So remember where your zipper is. My zipper is right here. So when I get to this point, I'm going to want to get in here and move my zipper out of the way. And that is getting inside of the pocket. Okay. Now I've moved my zipper out of the way. And I'm going to continue. And see, now that I have taped my D-ring down, now I don't have to worry about hitting the D-ring with my needle. And just go slow. Now again, if you have to use your hemostat, go ahead and use it, okay? Make sure your pocket is out of the way. Fold it over that way so you can be sure to see there really easily. Okay, now I'm coming up to my zipper again. So I want to make sure I know where my zipper pull is, and I'm going to move it back out of the way again. Okay, so that as I'm sewing across here, I don't run over my zipper. Okay, so I'm really happy with the way that came out, okay, and you can see I've basted it at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So now my back is fully enclosed with my front, and you can see that here if we look inside of there, okay. So now what I want to do is I want to really smash this down and move it all out of the way so that my around here is all exposed. Now I want to get my inner pocket piece, and I want to put them right sides together, matching up my centers. And now I want to clip this all the way around, doing it the same way. Now, because my other two pieces went on, I know this two pieces are going to match up right with each other, because remember, we cut them at the same size. So now I'm going to put my two center pieces together. Now I'm going to go all the way around. And again, this is really good that we taped down those D-rings, because now we don't have to worry about it at all. Now here, I can feel a little tuck there. Let me see what is going on here. Okay, so now I feel a little tuck right here. So I'm going to now I'm going to pin this out of the way. So now I've got it all clipped all the way around. Now I've removed these clips right here because I want to show you something. I want to make sure that I am right at that point so that my flap, my pocket flap, is enclosed inside of there. So now I've clipped all the way around, and now I'm going to sew at a 1/4 inch seam allowance using my hemostat if I need to. But I really want to make sure that it's at a 1/4 inch all the way around, so that, especially like right here, that all of that seam is engulfed in there, okay? So I'm going to start from here in the center, and I want to feel to where my zipper is. And my zipper is right over here, so I know where that is. Now I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way and then continue. Okay, I want to show you something here. I went off my 1/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, go back up here, back stitch it, and then continue on to make sure that that 1/4 inch seam allowance is accurate all the way around. Now I want to move my zipper out of the way again. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to look in these two corners here where my flap meets the body of my bag to make sure that my flap was completely enclosed inside of there. And then if I'm happy with the way that looks, then I can turn my bag out. So you can see here that, let me see if I can make this focus. You see how I didn't completely get my pocket flap there? So before I turn that out, I'm going to make sure that I come down just a little bit more. Okay. Now let me see where my zipper is. My zipper is right there. Okay, now let me check on this side how it came out with my flap. You really look inside of there. Okay. Okay, now I've looked inside to really make sure that my flap was enclosed inside of there. And what I did was I had to just go down a little bit further down right here to make sure that my flap was in there. Okay, you may have to do this too, but it's not hard to do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip all the way around using my heavy scissors, but I am not going to clip this down here, my webbing. I'm just going to clip all this here. Okay, especially at these edges. Okay. Now, I'm going to open my zipper and turn my bag. I used this hemostat here, and so now I'm really glad that I've got this. And what it did was I was able to really pull all those pieces in to make sure that they really fit in there really well. Now let me open this up and show you from the inside what this looks like. It's really very nice and clean in there. My zipper pocket has my message for the recipient. I like that this little tag is right here in the corner also. Now this is a really roomy little bag here. This is the medium size, and I'm really glad I made this size. Out of the three, this size here is the size that I think that I'm going to like the most. And you can see that using that hemostat, going all the way around, that really was a lot easier to put this bag together than I expected. Okay, now we're almost done. Now all we have to do is our adjustable strap. I have 1-inch webbing, the same that I used for my D-rings. I have also a glide and 2 lobster clasps. All of them are for the 1-inch webbing. Now, my webbing, I have cut it at 50 inches. And I'm really burning these edges to make sure that there is no fraying whatsoever on either side. So let me do that to the other side now. Okay, so you can see that this isn't going to fray at all. Now I'm going to sew 2 lines right here, making sure my glide is well out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to stitch my second row. Again, making sure that my glide is way out of the way. And I'm going to burn my thread ends. There. Okay, so now I'm going to get to the end of my webbing, and I'm going to put my lobster clasp in there. Okay. And then put my lobster clasp in there. Now I'm going to go up and down right here, so that there. And now I want to make sure that my lobster clasp is on the outside and that there is no folds whatsoever in my webbing. Okay, now I want to grab my other lobster clasp and put it on there. And now I'm going to do the same thing and stitch 2 rows on this here. Do my second row. Now I want to burn my threads. And I'm going to get my bag. And put it on. Thank you for going through the whole tutorial with me, and I hope you'll make one of these hip bags. I know you'll enjoy it just like I have. Okay, Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.